One of my favorite things to think about and talk about is how to feed your family affordably. So today I want to tell you about how we feed our family on around $400 a month. So today, as I'm doing some jobs in the kitchen, I'm just going to talk with you about simple ways that we save money. I'm going to talk to you about some of my approaches for grocery shopping, and I'm going to tell you about how we take 2 trips to Aldi every month, spending around $200 each trip, and that pretty much feeds our family of 4 for the entire month. So come on, let's talk together. So over the years, I have made several different videos talking about grocery shopping, talking about meal planning, and how I do all of those things affordably. I've talked about snacks specifically. I've talked about seasonal foods. I've taken you through a week of our meals. So if you are interested in this kind of thing, I have lots of videos, and I will link that playlist down below where you can find them all in one spot. My videos have taken different angles, going through different things, talking about just the meal planning aspect, talking about food waste and how to avoid food waste. So I've come at the food topic from a lot of different angles. Today I really want to focus on spending. Not coming at this from a point of view with my head in the sand, saying that food is so affordable or, being unrealistic. But at the end of the day, I want to focus on the things that I can control. I cannot control the price of eggs. I cannot control the cost of meat per pound. But what I can do is control what I'm buying and how I'm using it. So as I'm going through and doing some little kitchen tasks today, I just wanted to talk through that with you. All right, so as I said, if you have been around my channel before, you might know this. But if you haven't, I try to do grocery shopping about every other week. So when I'm already in an area where we will be around an Aldi, that's when I go. Going every 2 weeks helps me out in a couple of ways. It helps me because I am not going as frequently. It's nice to know that once I have that trip done, though it is big, though it takes a long time to load and unload and then put everything away, once it's done, I don't have to worry about it for another 2 weeks. The other reason why I do this is because I think that somehow I spend less whenever I am doing shopping this way. I think if I were shopping more frequently, I would see more things that I want. I would maybe make more impulse purchases. So for me in this stage of life, as a family of 4, this works. Now ask me again whenever the baby comes. This will probably all change. And if we had grocery delivery available in our area, I would absolutely do that. We just don't. So we take those 2 trips every month. In addition to that, we do supplement with trips to Walmart, but most of the things we buy at Walmart are not food items. We buy dog food there, we buy drinks for my husband there, we buy peanut butter and coffee. So those are 2 things we buy there, but pretty much all of our meal things, our snack things, the things I pack the kids' lunches with, pretty much all of that is coming from those 2-week Aldi trips. And my budget for each of those trips is $200. In fact, I have my receipt here from my last grocery trip. I spent $205.32. You can see how long it is and how much I got. So we'll talk about kind of what's on here, but let's go ahead and get into the tips. So my first tip is to meal plan beforehand. This doesn't have to be as specific as assigning meals to days if you don't want it to be. I do have the meal planner from Aldi. I've had it for several years now. They come out with it every year, and it separates every single day. This year they've changed it a little bit. It also has a notes section, but what I like is over to the side, it has a shopping list that is perforated. So throughout the week, you can write things that you've run out of, and then at the end of the week, you can tear that off and take it to the store. It's just really practical. It's also really affordable. I think they're $4.99. So I really like this option. They came out with 4 different designs this year, and I don't know if stores still have them, but if they do, I would highly recommend them. They also have magnetic strips on the back, so it's really nice if you want to put it on the fridge. It makes that very easy to do. So yes, always a good idea to have a plan whenever you go in instead of just going into it blind and buying ingredients, but you don't know what you're buying them for. I I make yogurt a couple times a month for our family. We eat a lot of Greek yogurt. I use it in things, and we also just eat it for breakfast and snack. It's a really good high protein snack. So maybe 2 years ago, I learned how to make it in the Instant Pot. So now I take 1 carton of yogurt and I multiply it and turn it into a whole gallon. The second thing would be to check sales on meat and produce. This is something that has probably been my most recent area of growth. I didn't always do this, but I try to pay attention to sales ads now, and I do 2 things. One thing that I do is if something's on sale, I try to stock up. The second thing that I do is if something's not on sale, I try to buy something else instead. So for example, this is not strawberry season. So I have been buying green grapes or grapefruit or something else that's been on sale instead of strawberries, just because they're not a good price right now. The third tip is to shop the perimeter. I'm sure you've heard this mentioned before, but do we buy things that are prepackaged, that are processed? Yes. But if you shop the perimeter, you tend to have more things that you can make with, more ingredients, more fresh produce, more protein, more good dairy, things that you can make things with. And so I try to get the bulk of our things to be that, and then I supplement with other things kind of in the middle of the store. But if you think about all of your kind of real simple ingredient items, they are on the perimeter of the store. So I didn't come up with that. It's nothing original, but it is a good point. Speaking of those prepackaged items, one thing that we do is we try to reserve those prepackaged items, especially the individually wrapped ones, for out of the house. So yes, I do buy those things from time to time. Some of the things that we will buy are individually packaged granola bars. I will buy sometimes a fruit snack or a fruit strip. I'll do applesauce pouches. I keep those pretty regularly. But anything individually packaged like that is going to go in the kids' snacks for school, or if we're headed out the door somewhere else. So we reserve those for out of the house, not for at home. My next tip is to pay attention to discount stickers. So if you shop at Aldi, you're probably familiar with these red stickers that say $1 off, $2 off. I know other stores have things comparable. I really try to pay attention to those. This past grocery trip, I really scored because there were 2 packs of those bagel thins. And as I am getting further along in my pregnancy, I'm trying to think of things that I can stock my freezer with that will help me out while I am newly postpartum and I have a newborn baby. They had packs of the bagel thins, and they are priced at $2.29, and they each had a $2 sticker on them. They weren't expired, but they were quickly approaching their expiration date. So I bought 2 packs of those bagel thins. They ended up being 29 cents a piece, and they each had 8 bagel thins in them. So I stuck them in the freezer, and I'm going to turn those into high protein breakfast sandwiches that I can have once the baby comes. Okay, number 6 is become an ingredient household. I was telling my sister one time about stuff that we had at home, and she said, "Oh wow, look at you being such an ingredient household." I didn't even know that this was a term. I didn't even know really what this meant. But it's just the idea that you have more ingredients in your home than you have prepackaged items. You know, it takes more effort to make these things whenever you have the ingredients, but it's nice that you know what's in them, and in the long run, it's a lot more cost effective. So again, do we have prepackaged things? Do we buy cereal and chips and, you know, processed things sometimes? Yes, we do. But a lot of the things that we buy are dairy ingredients to make our own yogurt. We buy oats and flour and sugar and brown sugar to make our own oatmeal and granola and baked goods. There are a lot more ingredients as opposed to manufactured things. Even when it comes to like those little prepackaged snack kits that maybe have cut up cheese with some nuts and some dried fruit, I've just found that it's usually more cost effective to have those things already and then just assemble a little snack tray on your own. So becoming an ingredient household is definitely a way to save money. When it comes to shopping with children, if you are in the store with children, or maybe if you're making your online grocery order, let them choose one item that's their special thing. My mom did this with us growing up, and it was really helpful to not have your child asking for something on every aisle. They know that they get this special thing. Usually it's, you know, $4 or less, and they get to feel like they have some input and a little bit of autonomy. I think it really also helps them to focus on that one treat that they are getting instead of all the other things that you're saying no to, so that you can stay within your budget. If I said yes to everything that my kids wanted in the store, there's no way I would stick to our grocery budget. But because they have that one item that they know that they can get every time, it really kind of makes them feel like the things that we're getting are special, even though they are ingredients. Number 8 is what you do with your food whenever you get home is really important. So washing your produce, going ahead and if you buy a large package of meat, going ahead and cutting that up however you intend to use it, portioning it out and then maybe freezing it. A great resource for the produce is the Cross Legacy, Amy Cross. I think I've mentioned her before, but I listened to her on the Debt Free Mom podcast, and she has an Instagram channel. She has, I think, an ebook, and she is a great resource for how to store your produce to make it last a really long time. I don't actually have her book, and it's something that I want to get. She talks about washing your berries, washing your fruit, letting it dry completely, and then storing it in glass. She's just a really great resource. The 9th tip is become a family who values leftovers. I've said before that if my family didn't like leftovers, that they would not survive. I think it's important to not view leftovers as a cop-out meal, but really viewing it as such a prize that you have extra food that you put time and energy and money into. All of those things are important. Your time, your energy, your money, your groceries, those are all important. So whenever I make a large batch of something and we have leftovers the next day, maybe for lunch or maybe to repurpose it for supper in a different way, I really appreciate that. So as I've done cooking more and as I've learned more about leftovers, I've learned that there are certain foods that lend themselves to being good leftovers versus ones that don't. And then the more you do this, you can kind of use that to your advantage. So every week when I meal plan now, there is at least one dedicated night of the week to leftovers. The next tip comes from Lydia Sin. I don't remember exactly word for word how she says it, but basically what she says is the best food to keep in your house is the food that your family will eat. So number 1, don't go in the store with rose-colored glasses. Don't think that your family is going to eat things that you know they won't. Certainly try new things, be open to exposing your family to new things, but also know those things that your family is really going to appreciate having in your house on a weekly basis. Also, going along with being realistic, don't buy too much. So a lot of times, if you are going headfirst into meal planning and grocery shopping, you can be tempted to buy everything. It can feel like this is the last grocery trip I'm ever going to do. It can feel like I want the world at my fingertips. And also sometimes we forget to account for whenever we go out to eat, whenever a family member invites us over for a meal, maybe we have a meal at church, or maybe we have a night of ball games where we have to stop and get fast food. I try to keep in mind whenever I am going on our 2-week trip that I likely won't be making all 14 meals. Like I mentioned, there will be 2 nights of leftovers. We will probably have a night or 2 of eating out. And then we might have a night or 2 where we eat at church or we are with family or friends. So I try to keep that in mind so I don't overbuy perishable things and then wind up having to scramble and freeze them, or the worst, have them go to waste. All right, the next tip number 11, is to limit choices. So a lot of times it can feel nice and empowering to have choices, and it can feel like that is the best option. Having too many choices for adults and for children can actually be pretty debilitating. So, do I force my children to eat certain foods? No, but I do encourage them to try it. I try to serve my food in such a way that if there is something they don't want, they could have something deconstructed where maybe we put everything all in the bowl, Just because you have one meal, it can be served in a myriad of ways. All of the plates don't have to look identical. So I am somebody that always encourages my kids to try new things. And this is coming from a recovering really picky eater as a child. And now I will pretty much eat anything. It wasn't always like that. And so I find that it's good to have some alternatives there for my kids. I'm not going to fix a whole meal of things that they don't like. Kate from Naptime Kitchen on Instagram, she says that she always makes sure that she serves at least one thing that she knows they will like. But then at the end of the day, it can be really good to have them try new things. Just last week, we had several different things on the table, and one of them was a jar of pickled banana peppers. And we had both kids try them. One kid did not appreciate them at all, but one kid liked them so much that they kept going back for more, and I packed them in their lunch today for school. Limit the choices, encourage them to try new things. That's my tip. All right, and my last one is for lunch boxes, and this can be for kids, but this could also be for if you are working or if you find yourself out and about whenever you are, encountering a mealtime. I really appreciate lunch boxes or lunch containers that have leak-proof compartments. I was talking about the individually packaged snacks. It is nice to have an option that's kind of the bent-go style option. That's what my daughter has, and I got it at a yard sale. It's nice to have that option because I don't have to pull out Ziploc bags and individual cups and everything. And it makes it so easy. Instead of pulling out an applesauce pouch, which again we do buy, I can pull out the jar of applesauce and I can fill up that container. And it's just so nice to be able to fill each of those spots. Instead of an individually packaged bag of chips, I can just put a few chips or a few crackers from a larger container that we already have and use at home. I can take one pickle from our big pickle jar in the fridge versus one of those little pre-packaged snack containers that they may not even finish all of it anyway, and then you have that waste. So I really like this option. I feel like it can be really cost effective to do it this way. All right, you guys, so that pretty much sums up my video talking about the ways that we save money and the ways that we are able to live on around $400 a month for our groceries. Now, again, like I said, there are a few things that we buy at Walmart, but usually that grocery trip at Aldi is pretty near $200 every 2 weeks. I would love to know down in the comments if you have any tips for how you save money, how you grocery shop, how you meal plan, how you reduce food waste. I think all of those things are always relevant, but especially in the life of a family, it is such a good skill to be able to save money and be able to provide for your family. All right, you guys, well, thanks for coming along with me. We've got yogurt going, we've got muffins on display, we have grapefruit in bowls, I have grapefruit cut up for my snack, I have a simmer pot going, and I have my sourdough starter rising. So thanks for coming along with me while I get all these kitchen things done. If you have not yet subscribed, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm so thankful to be sharing with you today, and I'll be talking to you next time.